Good morning. I am so glad you're here. Wow, it's the 28th of December. We made it to the other side of the holidays. Up here in Montana, it was degrees this morning with the lightest, most beautiful powder. It was pretty fun. So, been out shoveling all morning before doing this. But I'm glad that you're here. I'm glad you're taking time to watch. So, I want to begin by naming something that's subtle, but so present and that many ways we're experiencing right now without having the language for it, which is that we're shifting in orientation. We're sort of shifting our feet into something different than what we've done before. So, what I'm noticing and what a lot of you have been sharing with me is that this isn't a problem that needs solving. Things that used to organize our meaning, things that used to bring us purpose or like structure throughout the day, quietly in the background or even up front, don't seem to be doing that anymore. Have you noticed that? It's almost like the things that I used to hold on to are slipping, and then I'm sort of floating and wondering, what do I do now? And then I go, oh, I just observe. I just watch. And most people aren't noticing things with their minds first. They're noticing it with their bodies. We all are. Our bodies are sort of going like, let go. You're okay. You can balance, right? So when I look at these two together, right? You have this idea here of the warrior pose and opening your heart up and saying, this is who I am, this is what I'm doing. And then you have this mastery card in the major arcana as well that's sort of going, how do we adjust and let our minds just let our body show us how we adjust and stand on the tip of this sword, right? So what we're noticing is that our bodies are having fatigue, but it doesn't feel like burnout. It isn't like, oh, I worked so hard this week. It's just more like fatigue. I don't know what I did that made me feel so tired. What's going on? Our sensitivity comes and goes. It's like, ooh, I can see things, I can notice things, and then I can't. And then I can, and then I can't. We have a pull towards being quiet and a loss of urgency where urgency used to live. And that's what I've noticed about is that gripping inside my core, which is I have this much to do right now, this much I can accomplish, and then when I let go, it's like, ooh, that urgency doesn't direct me anymore. So if you've been asking yourself, why am I feeling off? I want to offer us a different frame this morning. You're not off, you're reorienting, right? You're finding your feet in a new way. So when what we're really noticing is that when the external meaning holders loosen. So most of us were trained socially, culturally, spiritually, right? To look outside of ourselves for permission. Permission to know, permission to rest, permission to trust our instincts, permission to decide what matters, permission to belong. And those external structures once organized a reality for us, right? They once like, I know exactly what instincts, what matters, when to rest, and who I belong to. And since those external structures that were organized for us were often formed around family, education, religious frameworks, and even spiritual narratives. So, what's happening now is not a loud collapse of those structures. It's a lot quieter than that. So, that's why it's so much more subtle. They're simply no longer holding the same weight. It's almost as if the weight we gave them is drifting. It's like when you really love someone or you really love something, and then after a while you're like, yeah, it's okay, but I have this other thing over here that has my attention. It's losing its weight in our awareness, in our consciousness, and I think that's really important to pay attention to. And when that happens, the nervous system notices before the mind has an explanation that makes sense. Our nervous system is like, I'm not feeling it like I used to. You might feel less motivated by the goals that once made sense, especially at the end of the year now when everyone's talking about New Year's resolution. Let's bring the year of the snake to a close and get ready for the year of the horse. All of these lists and these rituals, you're like, nah, maybe. I don't really feel that. You're less interested in performative meaning, which is showing up, being the good daughter, being the good holiday host, being the, fill it in, right? And you're more aware of what doesn't align, yet not knowing what does. It's like, not that, but what? Not that, but what? And so we're pushing things away, or we're dropping them, or we're simply letting them just move on. And we don't know what has meaning for us yet. So, what's especially noticeable is what happened during the holidays this year. So, for many of us, the collective performance of meaning, the rituals, the expectations, the emotional overlays, they were unusually intense. If I noticed that. I've been talking to different people who are in my sort of observer circle, and what I noticed is that even some of the holiday stuff became intolerable. And I thought, wow. And the thing that I heard over and over again was, I just want the sun to set and December 25th to go away and to begin December 26th, because that's relief. It means, for the year ahead, I've made it past the holidays. Not because something has ended, but because something stopped being required of us. And that's really important to sort of put our finger on. Is like all those requirements, all those traditions, all those things that we grew up saying, let's duplicate this, this has matter, this has meaning to me, is changing. So when it stopped being required from us, it started to end, right? So the body is, and we've talked about this over the last few weeks, the body is our first translator. So one of the most important things you can understand is that your body's going to feel it before your mind can, right? Tick. And we had periods of increased energetic output recently, whether it's through the M5 solar flare that we had a couple of days ago, the ongoing pulsing from 3i Atlas, the plasma field that's hitting our planet, and sort of the changes that are happening invisibly beyond our awareness, right? So, regardless of how you interpret any of those, the effect on our sensitive systems is exactly the same. More information is moving through our bodies. Makes sense. And what happens is the body asks for things like, can you please just slow down the pace? I need more rest. I need less stimulation. I need greater honesty. And this is why so many people are tired, but that sleep doesn't resolve it. It isn't like you need more sleep. And here in Montana, when it's dark at 4:30 and it doesn't get light until 8:15, or you're like, wow, how many hours can I actually sleep when it's dark out? Or what can I do to get up? It's not exhaustion from doing too much. It's fatigue from integrating something new. And I love this card. This is the Osho Zen integration card, which is art, or, oh, dang it, it's 14. Um, my brain is not going to grab it. It is in this one, in the, yeah, this really funny. When I can't remember something, I just sort of stutter and stop. I'll figure it out. So this is the blending, the integration of fire and water before the mental construct starts to take place. So we are integrating something new. And at the same time, the noise that has kept so many of us from moving forward on the momentum has quieted enough for some of these unresolved issues to surface. So when we sort of like step back from the noise, we start to bubble. And the bubbling is going to be thoughts. It's going to be emotions. It's going to be questions that were postponed because of habit or urgency. Questions that we just didn't want to address. And as Zachary Fisher put it this week on Facebook so clearly, this phase doesn't feel inspiring or exciting. It feels ordinary, sometimes even uncomfortable and deeply honest. It's not chaos, it's reorientation, right? It's reorientation. That's what's returning. So, as the external meaning holders loosen and something begins to return quietly, it's going to be things like our old knowledge, our old skills, our old sensitivities. I've noticed that I'm starting to bring pieces of what I studied in college, what jobs I had at different times, the people I met, and they're all starting to weave together in a different tapestry than I thought they would, because those were more meaningful now as they're starting to show me what I was actually learning throughout my decades of life, right? So the ways that of perceiving that you have sort of thought, I don't really have time to do that. So that's what's sort of coming back, is the way you perceive things, and you push them away, or they're coming back, right? Things you studied or lived for years that are suddenly relevant again. I can't stop studying the different texts and contexts of what we were told historically versus what the new revelations are showing us. And so, like, I'm like, wow, as a medieval and Renaissance historian, it is fascinating to find out what are some of the texts have changed and who changed them. And like, that's my conspiracy, right? I go down that rabbit hole really fast. So, we aren't returning these things to ourselves as beliefs. We're returning them as recognition. Oh, that's why I read those books. That's why that character in that movie or that book really resonated with me. Because this isn't rebellion, it is remembrance. We're remembering things that we were drawn to, things that called to us, right? And when this is happening, when this happens, something new, everything becomes possible. Everything becomes open. So what I really want to put my finger on today is the idea that the what's emerging is our own frequency. The old scaffolding, that old like structure of what held us in place, is loosening. And many of us are beginning to experience things that are unfamiliar yet deeply personal. And we're beginning to feel our own frequency. Now, I had this happen 2 nights ago on the couch. I sort of noticed that there were no layers between me and what I was pulsing out, and I thought, wow, I don't know when in my entire lifetime I have felt this comfortable to be who I am. And I thought, oh, this is my own frequency, and I'm not blocking it. I'm not oppressed on it. I'm not hiding it anymore. So this isn't a concept. And this isn't something that we have to define and perform. It is a lived presence in the body that we are sort of opening to and releasing, which is why I held this card. This is what we are opening and releasing. And so for many of us, this is new, not because it wasn't there before, right? But because there was never the space to feel it without interference. That's the most important. There was never a space to feel it without interference. So much of our lives trained us to adapt our field, to soften, to sharpen, to explain, to hide in order to belong. And what's happening now is that quiet return to sovereignty, which is, I don't need to belong. I know who I am. Right? And that's why you notice some of my pictures in the last couple of weeks. I'm looking right at the camera like, hello, let's talk about you. Let's talk about your sovereignty, right? Because the freedom to hold your field is now open without editing. The idea of who you are, to feel your own frequency internally without needing any validation, is happening. And to let others feel it too without convincing them or needing them to sort of to teach them or to perform to them. This isn't about, hey, I know how to do something, let me teach you. This isn't about separation of, I know how to do this, you don't, or you're doing that and I'm doing that. This is about coherence, which is when I open up and I share my frequency, you can do the same thing. And then we're now interacting on a much more authentic, honest level of coherence than we even thought was possible. And it doesn't require any effort. That's the thing that is so exciting. It doesn't require any effort for us to do this. It only asks that you stop collapsing yourself to fit the structures that no longer apply. That makes so much sense. And for you, sometimes it's going to feel like relief, and for others, it's going to feel so unfamiliar and like a little exposed. And that combination of discomfort and excitement is the sign that you're touching on something that's really real. And there's no urgency to it. This isn't something like, oh, I have to get there before the end of the year or before the end of January when Saturn and Pisces or Saturn's out of Pisces and Neptune's out of Pisces. And, there's no timelines, right? Because that's the most important thing that I want to name today is that there is no urgency. Because urgency belonged to the systems that required compliance, momentum, and certainty. What's happening now moves at the speed, where are we, of integration. You don't need answers yet. You don't need an identity yet. You don't need to know where this is going. You're not behind. You are learning how to live without leaning on external structures to tell you where you are. And as Judith Kessel, who posts a lot on Facebook, especially through Pam Youngins, expressed so beautifully in times of profound transformation, guidance doesn't come from effort. It comes from quietude. And I thought that word, oh, I want to grab it and put it in here, from listening, from allowing the heart and the body to orient first, right? So I have 6 permissions from you. And I got a lot of feedback that permissions are so much softer, so much more welcoming than tips. And before I do that, I want to invite you to the Patreon, because I have a Patreon channel and we post all of these pieces, and it's beautiful because the membership is now posting more and more, and we're sort of sharing YouTube videos, Instagram, any of the socials, any of our insights, any of our perspectives, right? And then on Tuesdays at 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, we have a community gathering group. And that is membership, $11 a month, 4 times a month. We gather, and for 75 minutes, we share, we sort of empty our pockets and we share, what are we seeing? What are we noticing? And we support one another. So if this is something that you would love to be a part of, we would love to have you at Patreon. The link is down below in my description, as well as how you can get a hold of me if you have some more questions. So let's go on to permissions, because permissions is really like self-recognition. So, the most important thing is that these aren't given to you by somebody else, but offered inwardly as your own form of self-recognition. Makes sense, right? So number 1, give yourself permission to notice that something no longer organizes meaning for you. Like, something no longer organizes meaning for you without rushing to replace it. So it's almost as if the space is not emptiness, it's possibility. So if the meaning drops and falls, give yourself permission to sort of hang out in that and go like, well, something just left. I wonder what's going to come and take its place. I wonder what meaning is going to come in and surprise me. And I love to say to the universe, just surprise me. Make it fun, make it playful, make it warm and wonderful, right? Number 2, give yourself permission to trust what your body's telling you, because your mind doesn't have the language yet. So give yourself permission to trust your body, because the body translates change first. And I love that change within the thought deck is the snake. And we're sort of looking at shedding our skin at the end of the year of the snake. So our body is going to translate all of this first. Makes sense, right? Number 3, give yourself permission to let the old knowledge and sensitivities return quietly. It's almost like, I didn't even know that I could, that my clairvoyance was as pronounced as it was until 2010, when I started reading tarot cards. And then I realized that everything comes into my head in visions and storylines and clips. Give yourself permission for that old knowledge to sort of return quietly. You don't need to announce them. You don't need to justify them. You just need to go, wow, this blank is what I'm doing more than I used to, or more now, doing more now than, and I remember when I used to be able to do that. And you're watching these pieces of you coming back into place, right? I love that. Let the old knowledge and sensitivities come in. Number 4, give yourself permission to hold your field open and let your frequency be present without editing it. Like, let your freak flag fly, right? Just let that frequency show up, and then watch who notices it. I've been doing this a lot when I'm in public places, sort of realizing that I don't need to shield myself as much as now I'm just sort of putting it out there and watching who turns, who wants to talk. Very different crowd than what I thought it was before. So this is where sovereignty resides in us. It's beautiful. Okay. Number 5, give yourself to move without urgency. Give yourself permission to move without urgency, which is recalibration takes time. Integration takes time. It's not a delay. It's that this is moving away and this is showing up. And if you've ever sort of quit a job and taken 1 or 2 weeks or a month in between and started something new, it's like you have to unwind all of that old and then figure out how you want to start and present yourself and then move into it. This is kind of where we are right now. Is that we are recalibrating, but we don't know what we're recalibrating for. And number 6, the final one, give yourself permission with compassion to be gentle to yourself and to others. Compassion is the key because many of us are shedding identities, roles, beliefs, partnerships, jobs, locations that we once relied on. The sensitivity is really high, the patience is very thin, and compassion doesn't mean that we try to fix it or explain it. It means that we stay present, especially with ourselves, and we allow this new coherence to form. We allow it to form within ourselves and within others. So, to bring this to a close, right? If things are feeling quieter inside, let them be quiet, right? If you feel both uncomfortable and excited, trust the combination. It's okay to be both. And sometimes it's just energy, right? You're not losing your way. You're learning how to live from your own frequency. Nothing needs forcing, nothing needs proving, just your presence. So, thank you for being here with me this morning. Be gentle with yourselves this week. And I have a journal prompt for you that I'm going to also include down in the description as well as in the comments, which is where in my life have old structures, roles, and expectations gone quiet without being replaced yet? And what I would suggest is that you don't rush into this and go, I got to do this homework. You want to put it out there, put the question out, put it on a piece of paper out where you can see it. What old structures, roles, or expectations have gone quiet and not been replaced yet? So write answers slowly, pause often, and stop when your body feels complete, not when the page is full. So this isn't a prompt about answers. This is a prompt where you're recognizing yourself. So I will see you in 2026 next week, or in the Patreon on Tuesday. You take care, and I will see you soon.